This video is being used for copyright disclaimer under 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, made for fair use for a purpose such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarships, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that otherwise might be infringing nonprofit, educational, or personal use. Tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Inflation is hitting everyone hard, not just the poor, the needy, but middle class as well. People who used to donate to food banks are now in lines to receive food from those same food banks. Remember back in 2020, 2021, lines would be down the street and around the corner. Those things are picking back up. You guys, we gotta stock up. We gotta prepare. We gotta grow our own food. Preserve as much as you can, because things are expected to be this way for at least another 3 to 5 years. And that was said by the UN, or the councils at the UN. Inflation is hitting us hard. We can barely buy groceries right now. We can barely buy the things that we need right now.
Look at this food bank in Montebello, California, right outside East LA. Lines of people twisting around the block. The Los Angeles Regional Food Bank CEO says in some areas the demand is back to peak pandemic levels.
For 2022, we're expecting things to really start sliding down in terms of the demand for food assistance. But really with the inflation hit, we saw another upsurge.
In fact, across the board, food bank directors say they're seeing more and more families coming to make ends meet. And most of them say it's because food costs so much more. And in a supermarket in New York City, Christina, grocery bills are adding up.
Yeah, grocery items have jumped 12% in the month of June year over year. That's the biggest jump since 1979. And it's not only more expensive to grow and make these food items, it's also more expensive to transport them. And shoppers have undoubtedly taken notice.
I used to buy a lot of things. Now I buy just what I need.
Protein has always been expensive, but it seems more expensive than ever.
That's because butter, chicken, and eggs soared in June, all up double digits year over year. Your morning cup of Joe, for example, up almost 16%. And that's forcing shoppers to change their habits.
Consumers are now accelerating that switching again from brands that they were previously purchasing to private brands that allow them to stretch their dollars.
Changing shopping habits and more budget planning.
We have to have a lot more conversations about what we're comfortable spending each month.
And you may have to spend more as food suppliers tack on extra charges.
If the bill coming to a store was $10,000, they're adding maybe 2% to the bottom of the bill, said $200 surcharge for fuel.
And that charge gets tacked on and passed on to consumers. So even if you don't drive, you can't avoid these higher gas prices. And some grocers warn food prices are going to continue to rise in the near term.
And people are paying more to borrow money. It's causing some to turn to their friends and family for a little help.
And wondering how we'll make it.
Groceries have been getting steadily more expensive. I find myself buying less and less.
And making it even worse, his car broke down. But financial pros say loaning money isn't always the best idea.
The likelihood of you getting the money back is probably very slim. The bottom line is, are you willing to lose the money? And if you're comfortable with your decision, just know it may be a gift instead of a loan.
Inflation will have some borrowing from Peter to pay Paul.